Welcome to the Crazy Cool Family Podcast with Don and Suzanne Manning. Parents, what if we could give you the power to transform your family into something absolutely amazing?
A family where everyone is healthy, gets along, loves Jesus, and has great purpose in life.
Hey, let us flip your thinking to unlock the power God has given you to create your own Crazy Cool family. Hey, Crazy Cool parents, welcome to the podcast. Don and Suzanne Manning here. Starting out 2021. Hooray!
Woohoo! Happy New Year!
Yes, and happy...
So glad to see you 2021. Not that we didn't love 2020, but we are ready for a change.
Not sure how much we love 2020.
I think we'll love it more the further we get from it.
Exactly. Welcome to 2021, and we were laughing because we went back to our last year. If you know Crazy Cool Family, you know we talk about two words, relationships and culture, and we say that those are the key ways to lead your family. Well, last year we said, hey, what's the one thing you want to change in the culture of your home? And, and then we listened to the podcast with the context of having gone through 2020, which we didn't know when we created the podcast, but oh my goodness.
How much opportunity we would have to change the culture in our home, how much time we would have with those people in our home, and how much culture there would be built because of all this quarantining, isolation, forced to be together 24/7 for months and months and months.
Right.
So much opportunity to build culture.
Yes.
So if you didn't listen to it, go back. It's episode 45.
45, yeah. Well, and as we go into 2021, we're going to ask you a different question. We're going to take the other word, relationships, and say, what's the one thing you want to change in your family relationally this year? But we'll get to that in a minute. But let's, as we finish 2020, Suzanne was talking about all the things that made that were removed from us in 2020, all the activities, all the restaurants, all the movie theaters, all the things that we went through that were removed. And it did make us focus internally. Mm-hmm. And so really, one of the things we're super excited about is what if we, knowing what we know now from 2020, what if we take the good things that came out of that, the things that God wanted us to focus on, and maybe focus on those a little bit in 2021 without all the apathy and without all the discouragement that came in 2020. It was just, I think if you had to characterize 2020 in one word, it would be, for so many people, it was apathetic.
Right.
Because we were so big, and we had this great opportunity to pursue relationships and to pursue culture in our home. And some of us may have missed it. Some of us may have gone a downward trend in our relationships. We've seen a lot of, marriages with struggles and things like that. It's like, well, hey, for your family in 2021, what if you said, hey, okay, yes, we still have this virus out there. We still have a little bit of a slowed down culture. What are we going to do to change the relationships? What's the one thing you're going to do to really improve the relationships in your home in 2021?
Yeah, and one of the first things might be to look back at 2020 and redeem it as a positive instead of negative. Instead of being forced to stay at home, we were given the opportunity to stay at home. And we were given ample, large quantities of time to work on the culture and the relationships in our family. And so I know that every single one of us made strides in those relationships, but you can't help but when you're forced to be around people, you can't help but find the good, and the bad and the ugly too, but you even find that you love that as well. And so I'm going to file 2020 away, not as a bad year, yes, as a rough year and maybe roll my eyes at it a little bit. But what I want to do is I want us here at Crazy Cool Family to use 2020 as a springboard or as a foundation as we jump into 2021, to take all the opportunities that looked like they weren't opportunities at all, but as we look back, realize that they were time given. If it was a gift from the Lord to be able to be under the same roof for so many days without distractions. And so to take that and build off of that, what are we going to do intentionally now and purposefully with our relationships?
Yeah, for 2020 will forever change us. It is a banner year in a way. Yeah, in a banner year in a way that it will be a very memorable year
And we'll say, oh, you remember 2020.
Yeah.
But what I just want to do is I want to go, yeah, I remember 2020.
Yeah, it
I
was
want
a
to look at it
springboard.
like that as a springboard. Is that, oh my goodness, it made me focus on the people that God's given me, entrusted me to raise and train up in the way that they should go in a whole new way. And maybe I didn't succeed well in 2020 in those relationships, but that's the beauty of a whole new year rolling in. That's what my favorite part, my favorite deal of God's plan, my favorite thing is that there's a reset. There's a new beginning on January 1st of every year. And with that, there becomes this momentum and this energy for change and resolutions, which we never keep. But, but there is this, there's this goal there that's like, I want to see I want it to be different. I want something different. I want to change. And that's what we want to talk about with 2021 when it comes to your relationships.
Yeah, so at Crazy Cool Family, we talk about, if you've been around us at all, we talk about three main things. We have pursue God, that God is your most important relationship, and you will only be as good a father as you are first a son of the King, or you will only be as good a mother as you are a daughter of the King. Pursue God, build relationships. That's what we're going to focus on today. And then the third one is to create culture. You create a culture in your home that drives the relationships in your home. Culture drives relationships. Relationships drive family. Relationships are at the very heart, the center of the family. And we say this all the time, that so goes your relationships, so goes your family.
And so at Crazy Cool Family, if you go to our website, crazycoolfamily.com, we have what we call a dashboard of relationships. And it's basically just a drawing. And it shows all the lines that indicate all the different relationships. So it's everybody to God, it's the parents to each other in the marriage relationship, it's the parents to the kids, and of course the kids back to the parents. And so we just encourage you to go to our webpage, look at that diagram, look at that dashboard, and then create one for your own family. So you draw a little figure of you and your spouse, you draw a figure of God at the top above you, and then a line of all of your kids down below. And then you just draw lines to connect everybody.
And you start to see the relationships. That's why we call it the family dashboard, because it's a representation. It's a way for you to see all those lines. And again, what we tell you is, so go those lines. If all those lines are strong, including your connection to God, your connection to your kids, your marriage, kids' connection to God, all those, kids' connection to each other, your family will be strong. Your family will be life-giving. Your family will be amazing. And so go to the website, the homepage, just scroll down and find that. And you can look at that diagram and just, take a piece of paper. We used to do it with small groups with manila paper and crayons. And so we'd have them do it because it was so kid-friendly and stuff. And we'd have them, and we'd look at how everybody would draw their own. Stick it up on your refrigerator so you see it.
Oh, yeah, and we've challenged so many families to do this across the years that they've done it, and then they've taken a picture and sent it to our Instagram or our Crazy Cool Family feed.
You can email it if you want to, info@crazycoolfamily.com. Let us see your family. And so with that, once you see all that and you see those dashboards, and we want you to just ask the Lord, and your spouse too, if you're married, hey, what's the one thing, when you look at one thing I'm going to work on this year? What's the one thing Don Manning is going to work on this year to to improve the relationships in my family?
Yeah, and so I was just to give them an example, Don, what is one thing that you changed along the way on how you interacted with the relationships with your kids?
I learned how to homeschool. No, I'm just kidding. I was just thinking last year we had some of the kids come home, and we had a lot more kids. But really, I think one of the things, that was just a joke, but I think one of the things I was as I thought about this question is, one of the big things I learned last year is that I'm an intense guy. And so often when I talk in an intense way, passionate way, and it's happened for years, but I just really worked on it this year a lot, that my kids, my spouse sometimes, thinks I'm mad. I'm not mad. I'm not even close to being mad, but it comes across as being mad. And so, and sometimes I will, because of my passion, I will shut them down. And so I've really worked on this year of not talking like that. I don't know that I've been incredibly successful, but I've definitely had it top of mind where I've tried to tone down my intensity a little bit, I guess.
It's a beautiful thing, your intensity, honey. So one of the things that I think of that I look back on 2020 and I did not do as good a job on that I would like to do in 2021 is intentionally pursue. And I know that as parents with small children, you can't help but intentionally pursue because your children are right there under your feet. But I have teenagers. And so I just remember there were days and days during our quarantine time that we maybe had a meal together, but that was about it. Like I didn't go up to their room and communicate with them, and they didn't come down in my room
because they live upstairs and
they
we
live
live
upstairs.
downstairs.
Yeah, and if we did interact with each other, it was like the anomaly. It wasn't the norm, and so that's what I want to do, even in 2021 is choose them more. Like one of the things that's happened even over this holiday break is the college kids have come home. And when them coming home, I've watched them intentionally pursue their siblings, make breakfast dates, lunch dates, go out to dinner with them, choose to watch a movie together. They have been very intentional with each other. And I think one of the reasons it's because they live away and they know they've only got so much time together. But reality is, we only have so much time. I only have one more year with Maddox, and a few more years with McCade. And parents, I know you're thinking, I've still got 10 with this kid, I've got 15 with this kid.
My kid's 2.
But you don't have that kind of time at the age that they're at. You only have so much time with your 3-year-old, or you only have so much time with your 4-year-old, because then they're going to be 5 and they're going to be 6 and they are going to get older. And so that's the example of what we're talking about. If you take that dashboard and all of those arrows pointing to each other, if you were to apply one thing over it, and Don applied, he was going to interact by not being so intense in his conversation. What I am applying is I'm going to choose to communicate with each one of them, pursue each of my kids.
Well, and actually, when you asked that question we were talking about beforehand, you mentioned like what I changed last year. I feel like that's something that I really worked on last year, and really need to continue to work on it. But for this year, for me, one of the things that I am really working on, I'm going to work on, that God's put on my heart, is to be present. And that is just that I am always thinking, my mind's always going, it's just when someone's talking to me, to be present and to be there. And so that's really my 2021 thing. So last year was more
good.
about my tone, and I still need to work on that. But I think this year it's going to be about being present, just listening and slowing down, even with God, of being able in my pursuing God, of being present in my time with God and not thinking about my to-do list and everything else. We've got some,
That's such a good, I'm so glad you brought that up, because I do believe that is a struggle that parents with small children have in this current day and age. And I think that 2020 really amplified it, because we wanted to escape as parents. And so we wanted to be on our social media or on our phone, or we didn't want to be where we were. And so I think that's a beautiful word. And so parents, I just encourage you as well to ask the Lord if that's what you need to do as well. If you need to be present in the moments that He get unfolded before you. I think that's a great thing to focus on.
And let us give you some other suggestions. Tone of voice that we just talked about. What is your tone of voice? How are you using your tone of voice with your family? How are you looking at your kids, looking at your wife or husband? What about critical words? How often do you use encouraging words versus critical words?
And once again, I just wanted to, as we talk about those 3 things, the top of those 3 things before we go on to the rest of the list. Once again, 2020 was a trying year, and it robbed us of our patience, and it robbed us of our tolerance, and it brought about a frustration and an irritation that was almost tangible but unexplainable. And so we can redeem that, guys, in 2021. We can redeem that by changing our tone of voice, by stopping and paying attention and reading. The eyes are the window to the soul. And so if we'll just stop and look at our little people's eyes and at our spouse's eyes, we can see what's going on. And then our critical words, I know when we're unhealthy, then what we say is unhealthy. Out of the heart, the overflow of our heart is what gives life to our kids. And so these are things that we're saying that you can apply to the whole dashboard. It doesn't have to be just to one relationship. You can lay it over the dashboard. Okay, there's some more.
Sure, man. Maybe one of the things we do is we try to see the good in our kids rather than see what they're doing wrong consistently. It may be spending quality time. Taking it. Heck, I think maybe some of us got more than enough quality time last year, but maybe that wasn't you. Maybe you need.
But no, I just think that sometimes we confuse quantity of time with quality of time. And while we've spent all day, every day with our kids, we never had a conversation with them, or we never stopped what we were doing to pay attention to them. So that's what we're talking about there when it comes to quality time, is being intentional. Dawn was so good about this with our little kids. We could always tell when a kid needed some attention, and Dawn was the first one that would take them out on a little date or to get even if he was running an errand, he'd pick a kid to go with him, and they came back a different child. So that's what I'm talking about, quality time. Quantity and quality are so radically different.
And maybe you want to give gifts this year. Maybe you want to be a gift giver, or maybe you want to do something special like we were talking about with your kids, or maybe you want to write them notes. I remember one year we passed back a journal back and forth between our kids. And what I would do is I would write in it, give it to them. And then when they wanted to write something back to me, they would write in it and put it back on my nightstand or whatever. And we just did that back and forth for a season. And it was really cool. What about, maybe you want to serve your family differently. Maybe you want to serve together. Hey, church is kind of kicking back up. What are you going to do about church? So many people have gone away from going to church. Mainly the services have been shut down, but some people have just lost the deal about church being a part of their lives. What's church going to look like for your family in 2021? And I know at our church, like, for example, the kids services are starting in January. What does that look like for your family in 2021? Are you going to serve or attend, or how are you going to do that?
And so the last one is to hug, hold hands, touch more often. And if you pay attention, those go through the love languages. Those go through giving gifts, spending quality time, serving, physical touch, words of encouragement. That's all that is. That's where those ideas came from. And so where Dawn took the idea of serving and talked about serving together as the church outside, yes, get outside of your little bubble for sure, so valuable. But one of the things that would break in a relationship that maybe the lines weren't the strongest is if I would come in and make their bed for them, or help clean their room or something like that, where it became once again intentional, pay attention to time. And that's kind of what we're talking about, to pay attention to what's going on in that relationship and then give what is needed in that relationship.
Okay, so now's the hard part. How do we actually implement it? And the first thing I just want to say about that to parents is that Suzanne was saying, we all make a lot of New Year's resolutions and we don't keep a lot of them. And I think one of the reasons that happens a lot is we fail, and when we fail, we stop. And so I just want to give you permission to fail. As that you may say, okay, I'm going to write a note to my child or one of my children every day or something. Mm-hmm. And then day 3 comes and you didn't do it. And you're like, oh, I'm a failure. No, you're not. You did it 2 days. And you missed one.
And tomorrow's a new day.
Exactly.
I mean, just because it didn't happen that day doesn't mean it can't happen the next day. And that's what I want to talk about, is we have to act out the change. That we have to retrain our brain not to react like it always reacts, but to respond differently to the new change, and know that you will constantly be pulled back to the old self. But that doesn't mean that it's not a new day or a new thought or a new moment. And tomorrow can't be different.
I was listening to a training the other day, and somebody said, hey, who are you talking to? Are you talking to your future self? Or are you talking to your past self?
Oh, that's good.
And he said, talk to your future self. This is the person I'm going to become. And believe you are that person versus the past person didn't ever write the notes, didn't do the things that they said. But future self says, yes, I am going to be a person that's a note taker or note giver. And, that's just one example. But just thinking about yourself differently. And that's what Suzanne's, basically, we have tracks in our brain. And so when you start to do something, a new resolution for your family, a new thing you're going to change, you got to change that track. And those tracks are pretty well embedded.
Well, and it starts out, your new track starts out like a path, a walking path, and then it becomes a bike trail, and then it becomes a tiny little road, and then it becomes a highway, depending on how often you act on it. But you're competing with highways that have already happened.
Yeah, and competing with an enemy that wants to stop you.
Exactly.
I remember when early in our parenting journey, somebody told me about the power of forgiveness. Mm-hmm. Of asking forgiveness from when I did someone wrong, not just my kids, although that was, and not just my wife, but anyone. If I'd wronged somebody, to go and ask their forgiveness, and I'm like, this is nuts. This is absolutely nuts because they're going to take advantage of me. Just all those thoughts were in my head. But I started to do it, and today, asking forgiveness is one of the easiest things I do in so many ways because I've seen the value of it. And the track has been changed. The highway has been changed. It's been blown up and a new highway has been built. And therefore, that's not an issue for me, but it wasn't at the first. And so we just want to encourage you as you're making changes, 1, pray about it. 2, talk about it with your spouse. But then 3,
and invite your kids in too. I mean, have them, show them the dashboard and say, okay, guys, what can we do as a family that will make all these relationship lines strong? What can we do? I mean, you're going to laugh at some of the things they suggest. To have pizza every night for dinner, but it's always good to get them on the team and get them to be a part of whatever vision you want for your family.
Yeah, and when you default back to your old ways of doing things, just ask forgiveness and start over. And I love what Suzanne said, every day's a new day. And every day's a day that your future self can do something different than your past self. And that's how you start to change the legacy in your family. Because, what we tell people we tell parents all the time, tell people all the time, relationships are worth it.
Yeah, Jesus said, love the Lord your God with everything you've got and love your family the same way. I mean, he says it a little different in Matthew 22, but that what he's saying is everything you've got, give it to the Lord and give it to your family.
Yeah, that's our theme verse for Crazy Cool Family is Matthew 22, 37 through 39. Love the Lord your God. And realize it says the Lord your God. He is your God. He is your guide. He is your confidant. He is everything to you. He is your God. Love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. And he says then, and the second is like it. Love your neighbor, love your family, love your kids, love your wife, love your spouse, your husband, whatever that is for you, as yourself. Powerful words to guide your family in 2021.
So if you want 2021 to be the best year yet, then just take your eyes off the world. That was hard to do in 2020, but it's paved the way. We know what it's like. It's a springboard now. So take your eyes off the world, what's happening in the world, and put your eyes on what Jesus says, which is the most important thing, relationships. Because it doesn't matter what pandemic happens. It doesn't matter what businesses are shut down. It doesn't matter if you do or don't have to wear a mask or who the president is. If you pay attention to the relationships that God's entrusted you with, you have an impact there. You can make a change there. You can do what you want in that arena for sure.
Yeah, make it simple for you. Don't make it hard. What's the one thing? Look at that family dashboard that you've drawn out. And look at it and say, what's the one thing that I am going to change in 2021 to impact in a positive way the relationships in my family? And then just start to act on it and build a new habit this year. One habit, and you'll see great transformation in your family. So, as we wrap up, we hope this has been challenging to you, and we hope your 2021 is going to be absolutely amazing. We hope that your 2020, that you've survived it, and now we are ready to go on to 2021. So, go be crazy parents. Go get a challenge for this year with your relationships. crazycoolfamily.com.